Hello learners, in this video I am going to deal with part 2 of the lesson The Fight written by Ruskin Bond from the book It So Happened. Before we jump into part 2, let us quickly recap part 1 summary. The Fight is a story about two boys written by Ruskin Bond. One boy is named Ranji, who is Rajput, while the other is a Punjabi and he is Suraj. Ranji comes to Rajpur and did not make any friends. There were hills and forest on all sides of Rajpur. Ranji roams alone in the hot and dry place and discovers a beautiful pool in the middle of the forest. The water in the pool is very clear and it excites him, and he gets into the pool and starts swimming. He visits the pool again the next day and enjoys a lot in the water. After a while, he notices a boy standing on the edge of the pool. Ranji is friendly at first, but Suraj is very angry on Ranji because it is his pool. This leads to a huge fight. They punch and beat each other. They fight till they get tired. Finally, they decide to continue the fight the next day. Now, let us move on to the next day, that is part 2. Next day, the two claimants face each other across the pool. Claimants means candidates. They throw challenges and counter challenges at each other. The best solution they realize lies not in fighting each other but fighting together for something. When Ranji got home, he found it difficult to explain the cuts and bruises that showed on his face, leg, and arms. Bruises means injuries. It was difficult to conceal the fact that he had been in an unusually violent fight, and his mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. Conceal means hide. That evening, though he slipped out of the house and went to the bazaar, where he found comfort and solace in a bottle of vividly colored lemonade and a banana leaf full of hot sweet jalebis. Solace means relief and vividly is brightly. He had just finished the lemonade when he saw his adversary. Adversary is enemy coming down the road. His first impulse is a sudden desire, was to turn away and look elsewhere. His second, to throw the lemonade bottle at his enemy. Now, let us see its explanation. When Ranji reached home, he couldn't hide his injuries that were on his face, leg, and arms. He found it difficult to explain to his mother that he had been in an unusually violent fight, and his mother insisted on his staying at home for the rest of the day. But in the evening, he was able to slip out of the house and he went to bazaar. He had relief when he had a bottle of brightly colored lemonade and a banana leaf full of hot sweet jalebis. When he had just finished the lemonade, he saw his enemy coming down the road. At first, he decided to turn away and look elsewhere. Secondly, he felt like throwing the lemonade bottle at his enemy. But he did neither of these things. Instead, he stood his ground. So here he stood his ground means this is an idiom, children. It means to maintain one's position when expecting an attack, and scowled at his passing adversary. Scowled is looked angrily. Adversary is here the opponent or the enemy. That is the other boy. That is Suraj or the warrior or the stranger, right? And the warrior said nothing either but scowled back with equal ferocity. Ferocity is fierceness. The next day was as hot as the previous one. Ranji felt weak and lazy and not at all eager for a fight. His body was stiff and sore after the previous day's encounter. Stiff is inflexible. Sore means paining. Encounter is the fight. But he could not refuse the challenge. Not to turn up at the pool would be an acknowledgement of defeat. Acknowledgement means acceptance. From the way he felt just Then he knew he would be beaten in another fight, but he could not acquiesce in his own defeat. Acquiesce means it is accept quietly. He must defy his enemy to the last or outwit him, for only then could he gain his respect. Here, defy is oppose and outwit is outsmart. If he surrendered now, he would be beaten for all time. But to fight and be beaten today left him free to fight and be beaten again. As long as he fought, he had a right to the pool in the forest. Ranji neither turned away and looked elsewhere, nor threw the lemonade bottle at his enemy. He maintained his position, and he was ready to give his enemy a blow if he was attacked. He looked angrily at his enemy. The warrior or the stranger did not attack, but looked angrily with equal fierceness at Ranji. And the next day was equally hot, and Ranji felt weak and lazy and was not anxious for a fight. His body was stiff and painful because of the previous day fight, but Ranji could not refuse the challenge. If he did not go to the pool, then it would be an acceptance of his defeat in the fight, isn't it? So the next day Ranji reached the pool unwillingly, and he was feeling weak and knew that he would be beaten in another fight, and he could not accept quietly his own defeat. And he must oppose his enemy or outsmart him. Only then he could gain his respect. If he accepts his defeat, then he would be beaten for all time. He knew that as long as he fought, he had a right to the pool. He was half hoping that the warrior would have forgotten the challenge, but these hopes were dashed. Dashed means crashed when he saw his opponent sitting stripped to the waist on a rock on the side of the pool. The warrior was rubbing oil on his body. He saw Ranji beneath the sal trees and called a challenge across the waters of the pool. "Come over on this side and fight," he shouted. But Ranji was not going to submit to any conditions laid down by his opponent. "Come this side and fight," he shouted back with equal vigor. "Swim across and fight me here," called the other. "Or perhaps you can't swim the length of this pool." But Ranji could have swum the length of the pool a dozen times without tiring, and here he would show the warrior his superiority. So, slipping out of his vest, he dived straight into the water, cutting through it like a knife, and surfaced with hardly a splash. Dived is jump, and vigor is the strength. The warrior's mouth hung open in amazement. Ranji hoped that the warrior has forgotten the challenge, but his hopes were crashed down, and he saw the opponent on the rock of the other side of the pool. Seeing Ranji, the stranger, uh, he shouted and threw a challenge, and he asked Ranji to come to his side and fight. Ranji shouted with equal strength, asking the stranger to come to his side. Then the stranger in turn told Ranji to swim across to fight with him, or else he would think that Ranji won't be able to swim the length of the pool. In this way, the stranger ridiculed him. But Ranji he accepted the challenge, and he could swim the length of the pool a dozen times without tiring. So now he could show his superiority. Ranji took off his vest and jumped into the pool. By stretching his hand, he dived straight into the water and surfaced without a splash. The stranger was fascinated by his dive, and he was amazed also. "You can dive!" he exclaimed. "It is easy," said Ranji, treading water. Treading water is keeping oneself upright in deep water by moving the feet, waiting for a further challenge. "Can't you dive?" "No," said the other. "I jump straight in. But if you will tell me how, I will make a dive. It is easy, said Ranji. Stand on the rock, stretch your arms out and allow your head to displace your feet. Here displaces force something out of its position. The warrior stood up, stiff and straight, stretched out his arms, and threw himself into the water. He landed flat on his belly with a crash that sent the birds screaming out of the trees. Ranji dissolved into laughter is started to laugh. The stranger was very much impressed and surprised with the skill which was performed by Ranji, as how he could dive so skillfully. Ranji told him that it was easy. All he needed to do is to stand on a rock, stretch the arms, and allow the head to move his feet. The stranger tried, but landed flat on his belly with a crashing sound which scared away the birds. So Ranji started laughing at the warrior's dive. Are you trying to empty the pool? He asked as the warrior came to the surface spouting water like a small whale. Wasn't it good? Asked the boy, evidently proud of his feat. Here spouting is spraying and feat is special skill. Not very good, said Ranji. You should have more practice. See, I will do it again. And pulling himself up on a rock, he executed another perfect dive. Executed is showed in an action. The other boy waited for him to come up, but swimming under water, Ranji circled him and came upon him from behind. How did you do that? Asked the astonished youth. Astonished is surprised. Here youth refers to the stranger or the warrior. Can't you swim underwater? Asked Ranji. No, but I will try it. The warrior made a tremendous effort. Tremendous is very great. To plunge to the bottom of the pool, and indeed he thought he had gone right down, though his bottom, like ducks, remained above surface. Ranji, however, did not discourage him. It was not bad, he said, but you need a lot of practice. Will you teach me? Asked his enemy. If you like, I will teach you. The stranger came out of the pool spouting water like a whale. He asked Ranji about his dive. Ranji said that it was not that very good and asked him to practice more. Then the stranger jumped again to show Ranji. Then Ranji showed the stranger another fine dive. The stranger could notice that Ranji had a very good swimming skills. Ranji swam underwater and circled the stranger and came from behind. The stranger was surprised at Ranji's underwater skills and and he wanted to know from Ranji. Ranji inquired the stranger whether he could swim underwater. The stranger said that he will surely try. The stranger made great efforts to jump to the bottom of the pool, but he was unable to do, as his back part remained above the surface as a duck. As Ranji did not discourage the stranger, but told him that he needed a lot of practice, the warrior asked Ranji to teach him underwater skills. Ranji accepted that if he likes, he will surely teach him. So now here Ranji and this warrior or the stranger both are conversing with each other very friendly. If you like, said Ranji. They had pulled themselves out of the water and were sitting side by side on a smooth grey rock. My name is Suraj, said the warrior. What is yours? It is Ranji. I am strong, am I not? Asked Suraj, bending his arms so that a ball of muscle stood up stretching the white of his flesh. You are strong, said Ranji. You are a real pahalwan. So pahalwan is a Hindi word. One day I will be the world's champion wrestler, said Suraj, slapping his thighs which shook with the impact of his hand. Impact is force. He looked critically at Ranji's hard, thin body. Critically is evaluating. You are quite strong yourself, he conceded. Conceded is agreed. But you are too bony. Bony is thin. I know, you people do not eat enough. You must come and have your food with me. I drink 1 seer of milk every day. Here seer is a measurement which means a little less than a liter. We have got our own cow. Ranji accepted that if the stranger likes, he will surely teach him. They came out of the water and sat side by side on a smooth grey rock. And it's now they made friends. The warrior said that he is Suraj and asked Ranji's name. He said it is Ranji. After introducing their names, Suraj asked Ranji if he was strong. Ranji agreed and said that he was a real Pahalwan. Suraj said that he would become the world's champion wrestler. And Suraj looked at Ranji's body and he said that his body was strong but thin, and he invited him to have food with him. He said to Ranji that he drinks 1 seer of milk every day, and also says that they had a cow. Be my friend and I will make you a pahalwan like me. I know if you teach me to dive and swim underwater, I will make you a pahalwan. That is fair, isn't it? That is fair, said Ranji, though he doubted if he was getting the better of the exchange. Here pahalwan means wrestler. Suraj told Ranji to be his friend and he would make him a pahalwan like him. He told Ranji to teach him how to dive and swim underwater. Then he would make Ranji a pahalwan. And he enquired, wasn't it fair? Ranji said that it was fair and he doubted that he was getting the better of the exchange. Suraj put his arm around the younger boy and said, we are friends now, yes. They looked at each other with honest, unflinching eyes, and in that moment love and understanding were born. Unflinching is looking at each other's eye without blinking. We are friends, said Ranji. The birds had settled again in their branches, and the pool was quiet and limpid in the shade of the sal trees. Limpid is clear. It is our pool, said Suraj. Nobody else can come here without our permission. Who would dare? Who would dare? Said Ranji, smiling with the knowledge that he had won the day. Suraj, in a very affectionate manner, put his arm around Ranji and said that they were friends now. They looked at each other's eye without blinking. At that moment, love and understanding made them to be very friendly. Ranji replied that they were friends now. The birds, which were scared away, rested on their branches, and the pool was clear and still under the shade of the sal trees. Suraj declared that now the pool belongs to them, and no one else could come there without their permission. And he questioned Ranji who would dare. Ranji smiled and said that nobody would dare to come there now, because now they were friends, and Ranji thought that he had won the day. Now, I think the lesson is very clear, children. So now let us know the moral of this lesson, the fight. What does this lesson teach us? Do you think fighting will do us anything good? No, not at all, isn't it? It happens sometimes that we fight with our near and dear ones, but we need to replace our thoughts which are there in our mind, that we have to replace with positive thoughts. We need to help one another and always be friendly and learn to respect, understand, and spread the fragrance of friendship. Isn't it? I hope you all have understood the lesson, children. Thank you.